kill the lights. Can I get one more chance and do this all over?
Thank you, Natanya Ross, for being on my podcast. If anybody doesn't know, which I'm sure you do know, Natanya is the superstar of years ago, The Secret World of Alex Mack, Babysitter's Club, Boy Meets World, 90210. The list could go on and on and on. You are a serious child star turned actress now.
Yeah.
I just think, how was that? Like, how was growing up being famous? You know, I think that's the biggest question people want to know. And I know that's a broad question, but how did you feel mentally growing up as a star?
You actually asked that differently than most people do. I didn't know like the gravity and like how big it was until I was probably in like my mid-teens. How did I feel? So I had a really like challenging home life that not a lot of people knew about, except for like if you were in my friend circle at that time. So when I was outside of the home and I could like be this famous child star on set, or you know, even just all the shit am I allowed to cuss?
Yes, yeah, you're allowed to cuss. Yes, please.
Because I dropped the F-bomb a lot.
Yeah.
Like when we were out doing our thing, like I understood how kind of famous I was and all my friends were, and I loved that part of it. And I think for me, looking back now as an adult, because it was so challenging to actually be Natanya Ross.
Yeah.
You know, not just in my home, but in my own brain, because stuff was already starting to formulate that I didn't know it was gonna like, you know, end up being later on, that I really just kind of reveled in it, you know. If you go back and ask that group of friends, like I was definitely the leader of the group, so to speak, and I had a lot of different like groups of friends, and everybody was equally kind of doing big things, you know. So yeah, did I answer that question well? I think I did.
Yeah. Because I wanted to know kind of where you were at mentally, and you said you had an interesting home life.
Yeah.
And probably at home it was different how you felt than when you were out reveling in it, right? With your friends.
Yeah, there was a lot of alcoholism in my home and mental health illness. So getting out of there and being on set or being with my friends was like the sweet escape for me.
Sweet escape. That's it. Did you support your family?
I did.
Yeah.
So from the age of 10, I was the sole breadwinner of my family.
That is hard.
Yeah, it sure is.
That is.
Especially when you don't know that that's what you are.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We have that in common. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
You did it on a much larger level, but you know, because you were, you know, but it's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is a lot of pressure. Again, I think especially when you don't know that that's like the pressure that's on you. But also because of that, like you really could not tell me what the fuck to do.
Well,
from the age of 10 to like
that's it.
20, really, like you just could not tell me what to do. Because as soon as I caught on, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I could do whatever
I want.
Yeah.
Yep. So as you were growing up, when did it ever slow down for you? Or did you stop it? Did something happen? Or did it keep going? Where are you now? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so it never slowed down. I started at 6 months old and I literally worked consistently until I was 20. The last thing I did was an episode of Boston Public that I've never even seen when I was 20 years old. And so no, my entire life, like during that part of my life, consistently working. Obviously Alex Mack was like a really big deal.
Yeah,
and
it was a huge deal.
So that was like 11 to 17-ish for me, but my agents were smart enough to like contractually make it so if I ever needed to like be written out of an episode to go do something else, because they saw it. They said, you know, this is going to be big for you. So my whole team was really smart about it.
Good.
And it stopped because, you know, I fell into addiction. So, and a lot of people ask me like, why did you stop acting? And it's not, I didn't stop booking jobs. I literally just was like, here, take it back, because I found something else that like quiets this long enough for me to just like breathe, you know? And acting had stopped doing that for me. So I made, you know, I just made like bad decisions, and I exited myself. I wasn't, I didn't grow out of it. I wasn't like not cute enough anymore.
You self-sabotaged your
100%.
that's what you did.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the home life had a correlation to your addiction, or do you feel like it was something totally different? You did it.
I mean, sure. I think that structure in a home life, like I look at some of my friends who have had really different experiences, and they had a different parental structure. But, and this is like, I don't even think we have time for this, but I found out 7 years ago that I'm adopted. So through that process, I know. So like, not only do you get discarded by your family at, you know, 18, 19, 20, when you're no longer able to support them, but then to find out so much later in life that you don't even share like blood DNA. So that's been actually an interesting process for me too, because I'm understanding, at least DNA-wise, that like the alcoholism and addiction actually came from my birth family.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought for a long time, you know, why do I have this? Even though I did see my parents that raised me drinking more than like normal people should drink, but my addiction was heavy. I mean, alcohol was like the least of anything anyone was concerned about, you know? So I always kind of wondered, like, where did this come from? But yes, I do think parental structure has a lot to do with it. I get asked this question all the time, like, if you could give one piece of advice, what would it be? And I will always say forever, like, be careful who you surround yourself with. Because if I had taken like a left turn instead of a right turn, my life would have looked really different. I was on a trajectory to be like uber fucking famous, right? But also, had everything in the universe not lined up exactly how it did, I wouldn't even be sitting here right now. So everything happened exactly as it was supposed to. I was just dealt a different deck of cards, I guess, you know, but also the same deck of cards that a lot of child stars go through.
However, you still have a long career.
Sure.
I mean, now in this day and age, I mean, you know, I'm a talent manager. And,
I know.
and in this day and age, what I see more than not is your age, your type, and you still look really young. You know, but this age group, the 30s, 40s, you know, it's the new hot 20s, you know?
Girlfriend, from your lips to God's ears. Yeah, and it's my birthday next week, and it's like very strange to even say out loud that I'm going to be turning 42. But you're right. I feel like I'm in my prime.
In your prime,
yeah. I've never understood myself more as a human, a woman. And, you know, the question of like, when are you going to get back into acting has been asked over and over and over.
You never left.
I mean, I didn't, but I'll tell you, in the last 10 years with this resurgence of the 90s, I've definitely, the relevance of my career has changed on social media, and I've had a lot of different opportunities that I didn't have 10 years ago. And so now, as I've like been in long-term recovery and really understood who I am, as more people ask me like, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Can, you know, people wanting to help me, manage me, whatever it is, I've had to really ask myself that question. And I think I'm finally at like a very solid yes.
Great.
I'm ready.
Good.
Like I'm ready to go. And I think that what I can create in this decade, as opposed to like what I did in the first 20 years of my life, is going to be, it's going to be really impactful and really interesting to watch.
Because, you know, a woman in her 40s knows exactly what she wants, knows exactly what she's doing. She has her head on straight.
That's right.
You know, and I think that that's really important. So now you're going to do exactly what you set out to do.
I think so, babe.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about relationships in the industry. Like,
yikes, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
ask me a specific question, so because that's so broad.
well, no, relationships like partners,
like romantic
relationships. I mean, you recently had gotten married.
Yes.
And you're recently divorced.
I filed for divorce.
You filed for divorce, and that's all within a year.
Sure. So I got married 11/11 of this year, And I'm filed for divorce, and my divorce will be final February 18th.
Yeah, and I don't want to,
Yeah, and it's, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's part of like my story, right? It's
Yeah,
like, it's just, again, the universe really took care of me and really looked out for me. But relationships in the industry, I have predominantly always dated an artist. There's been like a few people here and there that have not been an actor or a musician or a model or whatever. And to be honest with you, I found it very hard to relate to them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And even my friends ask me, like, as I'm going through it was the separation and now the divorce, like, don't you think you want to date, like, just a normal, nice, like, real estate guy or something? And
fuck no.
And I said, no. I said, no. I have, like, a very, like, I know what I want. Like, no offense. I don't want to date a musician again. No offense.
Yeah.
There are some incredible men that are musicians, but just for me, like with all the touring and all the, it's just, so, but I have a vision of, I want to be with an artist. I'll probably end up with an actor. It's just, that's probably what it should have been from the fucking beginning.
And you know what, we say that too. We've all said that, I was married to an artist, and you know, and it was a long time.
Yeah.
And, as I roll my eyes, I don't mean to roll my eyes because he was fine, but we all say that, but you may fall in love again, and it may be okay, And
it may be a musician.
It may be a musician. Who knows?
Yeah.
So who knows that?
Yeah.
So what are you working on next? Like, what's your next thing?
So yes, so I signed a little book deal a couple years ago.
Cool.
It's almost done. Ironically, the last chapter was just kind of like wrapping up my current life. So it was the wedding and all of the stuff, and now we have to have like a
edit session.
One more chapter. We're gonna call it plot twist. But like, it's so on brand for my life. Like, just with all of the crazy shit that's happened in my life, it's like just not shocking that this is how it went down, and I'm at peace with it. I'm okay with it. I just did a short film a few months ago that's kind of set to be in all the festivals.
Awesome.
It's so good. It's so the director's name is Brian Wisenant. He's so fucking good, and I just think this thing's gonna win every award, and it's gonna have nothing to do with like me or my performance. I just think he created something so magical. But it was my first dramatic role in a long time. And typically I hate watching my own work. It's just, and I think that's probably something most actors say. And also to see yourself on screen now as a 40-year-old is a little different, I'm like, shit.
You're beautiful.
What happened? Well, thank you. So are you. And I know that about myself, but it's different. It's like a different experience.
It's a different experience,
But I was really proud of this performance, and that surprised me, Because usually I'm like, fuck, I could have done. And I was really proud of the whole thing, and I was proud of my performance. So we have that coming out. It's called Wrath Mercy. I'm not going to talk too much about it, just out of like respect and solidarity with the SAG strike. Yeah. But so that we have that, and then now I'm like serious about
getting representation and like getting into that.
Yeah. I'm like serious about it. So I mean, I think it was just all in the universe's timing, and the timing is now.
Yes, it definitely is now. You should do that.
Yeah.
What do you think about the child actors today that are on TV in similar shows like yours was, the Disney stars and the Nickelodeon stars? Like, do you feel like it's a different time than it was when your time was? Like, I feel like now is so different from the time when we were on TV.
100%.
I mean, it was just such a different ball game. I mean, what do do you have any? Is it just like it's different?
It's different. I mean, back in the day, it was like a black and white headshot with a resume stapled, and it didn't matter how many Instagram followers you had or how big of a platform you had.
It was about talent.
It was about talent. I mean, you literally went in there and cold read or had a little bit of preparation, and you were booked based off of your talent. And I feel like today, for those of us that really like are weaved into the fabric of 90s pop culture, it's a different experience trying to break back into it, Also, there was no TMZ, there was no social media. We had a little bit more, freedom just kind of like the experimental phases of figuring out who the fuck we were.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like as publicized as these kids have to deal with today. But I mean, yeah, I would have no relatability to what it's like to be a child star in this day and age. It probably would have killed me, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, because even just most of my fans on Instagram are like just the most supportive. They've been like ride or die for 30 years with me. They've stuck with me from like AOL sign up to like, you know,
That's amazing though.
MySpace, Facebook, Instagram. But I still have, what do they call them? I'm so old. Like internet trolls.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm not even on a current television show, and people have,
They have nothing to do.
I've heard everything from like she bought a whole new face to, you know, like why is she even on Instagram, to also some of the most beautiful comments I've ever seen too, because I'm very open about my journey in addiction and then recovery and mental health, and I work also in the mental health space, so I get a lot of support from that. But and also remember, I'm a redhead. Okay.
So's my daughter.
Okay, and in the 90s, when you're a redhead with like really pale skin at like 10, 11, 12 years old, you don't know that like in just a few years you're going to be hot and boys are going to like you. But like for those first few years, it's really questionable. And doing that on television, like, can you imagine if there was Instagram? I would have gotten ripped apart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know how the kids deal with that today. That feels so heavy.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so much bullying and there's so much hate.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand, because like I've always really just every opportunity I get, I try and just like tell people like there's nothing cooler that you can be than kind.
Yeah.
There really isn't, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have survived this day and age. I don't.
Yeah, this day and age there's so much more competition too. I mean, you know,
crazy.
we all went in the room. It was what, me, you, and Brittany Murphy.
Yeah,
You know?
literally, it was. It
You
really
know,
was.
that's it. You know.
Yeah, her and her mom like took me and my mom in under their wing when we moved out to California. Yeah, it really was.
It's like me,
Yeah.
you, hey,
Who
you know.
booked it? I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
I thought
yeah,
the first one was me and Brittany, but
you
guys
know,
probably got
yeah,
everything
we
else
played.
after.
Her and I played twins on Murphy Brown. I mean, like
Murphy
Brown. Yeah, right.
Girlfriend.
So I
Oh my
mean,
God.
so old. I'm older
So-
than you, so you know,
Not by much.
I'm 45. So.
That's not.
But it's interesting because, you know, back in the day, it was like us known, solid actresses, and we were trading roles
Yes.
like this.
Yes.
And now, who has the most Instagram followers?
Yeah.
You're selling yourself for roles. You have to put the work in yourself.
Yeah.
And then maybe they will take you, just maybe.
Just maybe, and also too, like not just because of COVID, but like everybody self-tapes now.
Yeah.
Like even before lockdown, all of my actor friends, and this was before I was even serious about thinking about getting back into acting. I was just doing personal appearances, autograph
Yep.
signings, Comic-Cons, etc. And all my friends were like, "Oh, I have the self-tape. I have the self-tape." I'm like, nobody goes into a room anymore.
And they never will again.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
One of my best friends is a casting director associate, Tazy, and I mean, it's just crazy. Like, what happened to the...
And
Natanya Ross, you ready to come in?
Yeah.
And then you go in and it's the same casting director
Yeah.
you've read for 10 million times. Everybody in the room
and they're all like
knows
this.
you.
They're like, keep these sides. You're
Smoke
coming
it.
back tomorrow.
Smoke it. Side. Smoking the
Yeah,
cigarette.
right?
Yeah.
Keep these sides. You're coming back tomorrow for
Yeah.
producers.
Or how about when, how about this? When it was like 5 girls, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like down to the line, the shit was like about to start shooting 3 days later, and everyone's waiting in a room, and they come out, they're like, okay, everyone can go. Chanel, can you just stay for a minute?
That's it.
And
Then you
everyone
know-
leaves, and they're like, you got it, and you're like, oh my God!
Yeah, that's how it happened. That's how it used to happen.
That shit was dope.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
It's terrible today for the reason of
Yeah.
that you could lose a role to somebody in London.
Yeah, I know.
And so, you know, I was just saying that in another interview that one of my boys lost a guest star to somebody in Ecuador
Yeah.
because you're auditioning everywhere.
Yeah, and you have crazy talented clients. and it's so-
Crazy talented clients.
Yeah, and that sucks.
And
that sucks.
and you know, fluent speaking Spanish, everything that they wanted got down to the wire,
Yeah.
and they went with the kid in Ecuador. Now listen, they never met the kid in Ecuador. It was all through Zoom.
It's insane. It's like literally insane.
Just, and you know, one of my girls lead in a Netflix series coming out October 17th, but I don't want to say much more because it's
Yeah,
SAG-AFTRA.
yeah.
But she never even went past the first tape. They cast her from the first tape.
So you just never know.
Yeah, number one on the call sheet. She's number one on the call sheet. Never met anybody till she got down to Canada.
Insane. All right, well, let's get me back.
Let's get me back number one on the call sheet.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to get you back number one on the call sheet,
I mean,
okay? I'm
do it.
serious.
Yeah.
I'm serious. We're going to be talking about this.
I know we are.
Yeah, yeah,
I
because
know
you're
we
good.
are.
You could still play a lot of things.
Well, that's kind of the interesting thing about me, especially in the 90s, is that, you know, I so much wanted to be the lead, like the pretty girl. I just talked about this on Pod Meets World, too. And I fit into such a specific box in the 90s. I'm, like, credited as being the, like, OG goth, emo, alt girl of Nickelodeon, which is special because at that time in the 90s, that representation of kids, they didn't have it, you know? So I got to kind of be that or the bad girl or the best friend or the drug addict or whatever. And I think now there's so much more range for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more.
There's a lot more, and there's a lot more open, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of roles, a lot of streaming, a lot of things, you know, a lot more open.
100%.
Yeah, you know, and a lot more open.
Yeah.
So, Surprise, do you have any questions for me?
Oh my God. Why aren't you acting anymore?
That's funny. Never was my dream, really.
Really?
Never.
Interesting, because you were successful.
The best day.
So crazy.
The best day was a day without an audition.
Wow.
The dread ran through my stomach the moment I had an audition.
That's so. I'm like the yin to your yang.
Yeah. I always wanted to be behind the scenes. I love what I do.
I mean, you're so good at what you do, but it's just I'm interested in like how often people ask you like.
You know what? I have been offered before I became a talent manager. Before I sold my studio, became a talent manager.
Which I see all the time, by the way, because I'm in that little like at Gayukaku. I'm like all over that. I get my nails done in there, and I look up, and I'm like, oh, Chanel Grace Street. It's like right there, yeah.
Before I sold,
Yeah.
People had said, Chanel, you could totally do this.
Yeah.
There was not one part of me, and not even one. And I just really love what I do.
I love that.
And I wake up in the morning, I can't wait to get down to that computer. I can't wait. Like, I'm literally sleeping. I think I have one eye open because I'm so excited to get down and work.
Wow.
And not many people can say that, I can honestly say.
I agree, and I mean, I'm so opposite. Like, I really thrive in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I'm a Libra, like, go figure, right?
I mean, I could do this,
Sure.
but I'm not interested in
But also,
doing
if
anything
you
else.
put me in front of, like, a red camera, too, and I know my lines, like, I thrive there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, like, cool on a red carpet.
Yeah.
I love these personal appearances. I really love to be in front of the camera, and I always have, and I don't think that's, like, a bad thing to say out loud.
No, you should. The people are
know
made for different things.
Yeah, I know my brand, and I know who I am, and I know my wheel box.
Mm-hmm.
And, so anyway, yeah, that would have been that was my question.
Yeah, and I can take a look at somebody from a mile away and tell you whether or not they should or should not be.
Well, you know
and that's
what?
my gift.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm a talent manager.
And I think part of why you have that probably is because of all the work
Maybe.
you gave to the industry. That will also be part of your legacy. P.S.
Thank you.
It just will.
And it was also why my acting school was so successful for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because I did offer that great thing for all these actors.
Yeah, where was I? Why wasn't I in that?
I don't know. You were busy.
Can we do a private class?
We'll do a private class. Yeah. I don't think you're gonna need it.
Your whole family's so talented too. There's so many people in your family that are like.
And you know what?
It's crazy.
Even my mother, as hard as it was to be with her,
Sure.
She was the best of the best, man.
Yeah.
She was the best of the fucking best,
Yeah.
She was the best actress, the best, all of it.
Yeah.
The best manager, the best, she taught me everything I know, and
God bless.
For that.
For that.
Yeah, I mean, nobody was a better businesswoman. Nobody was a
My
better,
mom too, really.
Mhm.
I have a very I have no relationship, unfortunately, with my adopted mother.
I have no relation. I have
Yeah.
And
and I have to do certain things to protect my own sanity.
Yeah.
And we're allowed to do that in life too.
Yep.
especially in our 40s.
That's right.
You know, I tell all my friends all the time, like, you know, listen, as we get older, we have to protect our energy more and more. When I was 20, in my 20s, even some of my 30s, I just like so freely let people have access to my energy.
Yeah.
And now in this season of my life, if you're gonna have access to any part of my energy, like there needs to be some part of you that has like excellence to you. I don't care what part. It could be artistry, it could be kindness, it can be, you know, intelligence or whatever it is, but there has to be something that I connect to in order for you to have access to my life. And I'm chopping people left and right.
Yeah.
You know, if I start to get like a visceral reaction to you being in my presence, you got to go, and that's it.
And
that's
perfect.
Family too.
That's everybody.
That's family too.
That's everybody.
Yes.
I mean, you know, and I hear you on that. You know, I've done that myself.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'm a few years older than you, so I did it around your age.
I mean, it's like, what are you talking about? We're basically the same age. It's ridiculous. It's 3 years.
What I'm saying is, but you know what I'm saying. I did it too.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best things, you know, I ever did.
Yeah.
You have to just do it. I had to forgive myself for my faults, you know.
I say that all the time.
You know, I had to forgive myself because I was looking for forgiveness from everybody else, you know. And, you know, because I had faults. Sure. And then after that, it was time to chop. And it was time to say, if you aren't offering me any kindness or niceness or value to my life, you have to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I love that you said that. I say that often too, is that I think when I really started to like become like a fully actualized and like realized human being was when I realized that I had to forgive the girl in her 20s that like fucked up so bad.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the heaviest layers of addiction and alcoholism and all of these things, and like until I could forgive that girl, then the girl in her 30s that, you know, got into recovery, that girl wasn't going to be able to do anything until the girl in her 20s was forgiven. So I totally get that. That makes so much. I mean, I had to do the same thing.
Yeah. I took down my whole life, you know. And then I
made a whole inventory of the damn thing and to see where we're going next.
And then, you know, but that was recent. But anyways, so, well, this has been great. You are, anything you want to talk about? Anything else?
No, I don't. I mean, we're so restricted right now. What the fuck can we even talk about with the strike? But
the strike. I mean, we're so restricted on some projects and stuff that we can't talk about. But
I mean, there's a couple. I mean, I could talk about a couple other things that I think are really important to talk about.
Sure.
Which number one would be like check on your friends. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Even the ones that seem the strongest, and I'm sure you and I have both had this experience in our lifetime where people are like, she's fine, Natanya's fine, but like. Oftentimes the strongest people are the ones that suffer the most.
Yep.
I'm very open about my struggles with mental health and drug addiction, and proud to have been in recovery for as long as I have been now, and also proud to be like brave enough to say like, I have depression and I have anxiety and I have to be mindful of those things and I have to take care of those things. And that's why I say check on your friends, because we're like in a day and age now where shit is really dangerous out there. Like, for these young kids that are experimenting in the way that me and you maybe did in our teen years, it was way safer in the 90s. Like, whatever you bought was what you bought, and now we're just dealing with this fentanyl epidemic and a mental health crisis and a homeless epidemic. And, you know, I just think it's really important right now more than ever to like really take care of yourself, really take care of your mental health, but also like make sure you're taking care of the people around you as well.
How do you feel about medication?
I'm an advocate for medication, and interestingly enough, I've worked in the mental health space for 15 years now.
Oh, okay.
I feel really grateful to have, made a place and a name for myself in that field. I'm the president of WAT, which stands for the Women's Association of Addiction Treatment. It's a 20-year-old nonprofit organization.
Wow.
We have chapters all across the United States. I'm definitely the youngest and the most tattooed president they've ever had. They needed some fresh blood. And, so I've been advocating for medication for years and years and years, and especially if it will give someone a different quality of life. But I never would take it.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
And that's something I've like had to work out with my therapist too. But, I'll be perfectly honest, going through this divorce has, broken me open in ways that like are not even about my ex-husband all necessarily, but it like goes back to my mother and this and this.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Everything that I think that I had like a wire in my brain taped with like Scotch tape. And for whatever reason, this divorce like broke the
it
tape.
open.
And then I had to get really serious about that kind of stuff. So I've recently started taking medication for my mental health, and it's given me a better quality of life.
Yeah.
And divorce is fucking hard. I mean, let's be real,
Divorce, I have to tell you, divorce was the hardest thing
you've ever been
that I've ever been through.
Same. And I have
and I've been through, like you. I've been through it.
I know. I've had to get sober. I've had to I've had boyfriends that have passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I've had so many different things that have happened. I've had a mother that took everything I ever made and then barely will speak to me. I have found out that I'm adopted at 35 years old. When you figure out your entire life was a lie. I was told my whole life my birthday was October 8th. It's actually the 4th. It goes on and on and on and on. And divorce, yeah. None of those things could hold a candle to divorce. And like all the different emotions you go through, it's insane. I'm finally now just like coming out of it. I think it's like month 5. I think I have to just say, I hope all my friends watch this podcast, Allie, all of them, like if it weren't for those people, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
my friends really like picked me up off the floor and reminded me who the fuck I was. And I think around like 4 or 5 months, I woke up and I was like, yeah, okay, I know, I'm Natanya Ross.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And thank you, God, one more time, or the universe, or whatever you believe in. Sometimes I think it's like one of my boyfriends that have passed away, specifically one, Blake, that I'm constantly talking to him like, I think you got, removed this from my life, closed this door so this door could open or whatever. And I think that if you don't really think and believe like that, you're going to end up a really bitter, angry, unhappy person.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I hold on to like the hatred and don't forgive these situations and these people in my life, it's like me drinking poison and expecting them to die. Right? So like I have to forgive everybody more for myself than for them. I mean, it's just they get lucky that they get the forgiveness, but it's really for me. So yeah, but divorce is the hardest thing I've ever been through in my entire life.
And I urge people to take marriage super seriously.
Well, you're a beacon of hope. Because you're remarried now.
Yes, with the love of my life.
Yep. We said that at the same time.
Yep.
And I feel so grateful that I'm not like, fuck marriage. I'm never going to get married.
No,
again.
you will.
But I will. I don't know if I'll ever change my name again.
Listen, I hyphened because it's just easier.
This guy's your soulmate. I get it.
Yeah.
And listen, if that's what it is. But I'll tell you, Natanya Ross has made me a lot of money in my life.
Yes, you're going to keep it.
I'm going to keep it. It's pretty infamous. It's
a
pretty infamous
I kept
name.
Gray because I've
Sure,
had
you
it.
have to.
I've had it for 20 years,
Why
and
not?
I've made it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I believe in love still is the point. And I'm not. My biggest dream. Here's what was the hardest part, and where all the reckoning that I went through had to. My biggest dream in life was to get married.
Well.
Everything else I ever wanted to do, I did. I wanted to be famous, I did it. I wanted to like make a name for myself in the mental health and substance abuse space, I did it. I wanted to, live a life in recovery, I did it. I wanted to like build a mini empire for myself again after having been, I was homeless at one point. I was living in a car. I was living downtown LA. I mean, I've been through the shit,
Wow.
And
you've come through a lot.
I wanted to rebuild an entire life for myself that was based not just on like monetary things or like cars or clothes, and we all love that shit. I mean, of course, but I wanted it to be based off of like just a real foundation of quality attributes, quality people, and I wanted to figure out who I wanted to be in this world. And at the end of the day, it didn't come down to like being an actress or being famous or being beautiful or any of those things. I just really wanted to be a good, kind person. But getting married was my biggest dream. My wedding was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
I created it all, every last detail. I did all that shit myself.
It was gorgeous, yeah.
And it felt like the best night of my life. But I have a feeling that God has a better night in store for me.
I think so.
I know so.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to believe that, or else.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad I got over myself enough, and like whatever weird false pride where I was like, no, my depression's not that bad, or no, my anxiety's not that bad. But after I started going through this divorce, I started getting panic attacks, which I had never had before.
Yeah.
And then also anxiety attacks. And panic attacks, like, I
feel like you can't breathe.
I felt like I was having a heart
Yeah.
attack. And I was like, am I old enough now? Yeah, I'm in my 40s. And my friends were like, no, I was hospitalized for a couple days just because I didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah.
And the anxiety basically had to get flushed out of me.
You feel like you're going to die.
Yeah, and my best friend, Virginia, she said, it's time. Yeah. We have to talk to a doctor.
Yeah.
And thank God she did that. And, she been like, honestly, it helped me pay for some of it, which she didn't need to do, but I think it was just her way of showing me, like, this is how serious you take this so seriously. This is what you do for work. You can't, like, you have to walk the talk. You talk the talk, walk the walk. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And I do that in every other area of my life. I say, you need to be a nice person. You need to be kind. That's who I am.
Yeah.
Right? I believe in recovery, and I believe in long-term recovery. That's where I am, right? I believe in, like, being authentic and transparent and weird and, like, just being exactly who you are. That's what I do. So, like, why wouldn't I give myself the same quality of life that I advocate for everybody else having? And it's helped me so much. It's changed. I don't know where I'd be had I not made that decision 5 months ago or however long.
I'm glad that you did do that. Yeah. I mean, I come from a family with suicide.
Yes.
And I like where I am. And
you're fucking killing it.
I'm completely a different person.
Yeah, it is perfection.
Thank you. Yeah. But I just want to be a person that people want to be around.
I love that.
And I know that in the past I wasn't.
Oh, I love that too, because I know I wasn't also.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to acknowledge that out loud, because it's important for my daughters to know that it's not okay to do some of the behavior that I did. Yeah. Because I was doing bad behavior.
Sure.
And whether it was a manic episode or not, because that's what it was. Yeah. It's not okay to go out there and
Right. I know.
Yeah. You can't.
I know exactly.
Yeah,
what you're trying to say.
and thank God Micah came into my life at that time. I was in a very bad place. But he came into it at the right time, and but I was not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was not good.
And it's so brave to say that out loud. And I think that's the other thing I would say too is that I understand the kind of bravery it takes to, like, share that story publicly, especially when you are a public figure and you have a platform. But for someone that doesn't necessarily have, an ability to say that out loud and feel all of the support from all these, like, tens of thousands of people, like, I really, really want to push and say, like, please open your mouth and say something. Yeah. Find somebody you trust. Like, I tell people, DM me. If I can find you resources in your area, I will. I probably can, and I will. And, so I wish I could sit here and tell you about the movie I just did. I wish I could sit here and tell you,
we'll do another one. We'll do another one.
As soon as this strike is over, I'm set to star in this new television series, and, like, I'm gonna manifest, and we're gonna bring that to fruition.
We are. Right? Yep. And we're gonna bring it to the table here when you're done.
We are. But for right now, I'm just gonna tell people, like, if you're struggling, that's okay. We get it. Like, for the people that you think, like, I think people look at me and they're like, her life's perfect. Instagram is smoke and mirrors. I'll tell you, like,
smoke and mirrors.
Like, the shit I post on Instagram is like, am I having fun in those moments? Sure, but, like, there's also a lot of moments I can't get out of bed, where I have to call somebody and say, like, please come over. Like, I don't know where I'm at right now, and in my mind, and it feels crazy, and going through divorce brings up all sorts of abandonment issues, and thank God I have the training in recovery and spirituality and all of those things that I have, or else those bad behaviors would have popped back up real fast.
Yeah, totally.
Just to like numb out enough to get through it, and instead I had to feel like every second, and thank God. Like, thank God I can.
Well, thank God you came here.
And yes, I'm so honored that you asked
You're
me.
the best, really.
You're the best.
Thank you for coming.
I love you. Are we doing like an over the table? I love you.
Love
Yes.
you. Thank you, babe.
Yesterday, I know I've been distant lately. Seems this trouble won't leave me alone. We're so fucked up, you and me. So fucked up, we have to be. So fucked up, you and me. So far, so what?